Let's talk about fatsapphicbro.
Oh God, let's do this, troll. This person says this is what, quote, this is what is literally killing fat people, end quote. Not Chief, pretty sure something else is killing fat people. Heart failure. All right, Chief, let's take a look at it then, since you seem to think you're more educated on this than I am. This is an article titled The Relationship Between Obesity and Mortality in Patients with Heart Failure. And the results. The 4 BMI groups had similar profiles in terms of ejection fraction, sodium, creatinine, and smoking. The obese and overweight groups had significantly higher rates of hypertension and diabetes, as well as higher levels of cholesterol, triglycerides, and low-density lipoprotein cholesterol. The 4 BMI groups had similar survival rates, ejection fraction, heart failure etiology, and angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitor use predicted survival on univariate analysis, although BMI did not. On multivariate analysis, cardiopulmonary exercise tests, pulmonary capillary wedge pressure, and serum sodium were strong predictors of survival. Higher BMI was not a risk factor for increased mortality, but was associated with a trend toward improved survival. Conclusion. In a large cohort of patients with advanced heart failure of multiple etiologies, obesity is not associated with increased mortality and may confer a more favorable prognosis. Further studies need to delineate whether weight loss promotion in medically optimized patients with heart failure is a worthwhile therapeutic goal. In other words, they believe old biased research that says that fat people have more issues with heart failure, and they encourage people with heart failure to lose weight, but are actually finding that if you weigh more, you survive this better. So now they have to go back and second guess and re-research to find out whether or not it's actually safe to be encouraging patients with heart failure to lose weight, as that makes their outcomes shittier. This is one article out of like a whole lot of articles I could have pulled. And this is an older article too. I promise you don't know more about this than I do. I promise you're absolutely fucking ignorant.
Oh, good lord. This is a prime example of how not to do research. What exactly is the issue with Saffick's conclusion? First of all, every one of the patients in the study were already experiencing heart failure. To say, well, obese people experiencing advanced heart failure fare just as well as thin people is not the gotcha you think it is. They experience it at a higher rate. According to Aoun and others, 2016, for every 5 points you go up in the BMI, the risk of heart failure goes up 41%. For every 10 centimeters you add to the waist, the risk goes up 29%. For every 0.1 unit you go up in waist to hip ratio, the risk goes up 28%. Taking you at face value, let's say obese people survive heart rates at similar rates to thin people. Lovely, they also experience heart failure at a much higher rate.
This person asks, can we even talk about how going to the gym is actually classist? Like, if you're disabled and you don't have any money, how do we go to the gym or the pool? Yes, 100%. Let's talk about this. Gyms are expensive. And even I think the cheapest gym that I've ever found was like Planet Fitness. And even it was pricey.
Planet Fitness is pricey. It's $10 a month. $10. You've made a lot of videos in your car, so I know you can afford the payments as well as gas. If you can't afford to put $10 a month aside, you need to seek a financial advisor because you're not going to have that car too much longer. I refuse to believe this was just an error. I believe they lied on purpose in the hopes that their audience won't check.
This person asks, is there any way you'd be willing to talk more about it? I'm currently trying to gain weight, and the last thing I want to do is contribute to fat phobia. So this one was when I was talking about before and after videos about weight loss, and then this person asked about what about weight gain, and I said it kind of depends how you're doing it. So for me, like, what I'm trying to say is the people who do like the bodybuilding stuff and who go through these intermittent fasting in order to like bulk up, or doing like obnoxious restriction combined with later doing massive calorie loading, that shit, I mean, while being vaguely fat phobic, is also just really not good for your body and really, really bad for your heart. So, yeah, that's the biggest thing around weight gain. Like, if you are trying to gain weight, either fat or muscle mass, because you are underweight or because you have a health condition that being bulkier helps with, like, for example, Ehlers-Danlos. I know that if you are bulkier, especially more muscular, it helps keep your joints in place. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's perfectly reasonable to weight gain if you're doing it in healthy ways. Yeah, I don't think that weight gain in and of itself is inherently fat phobic. It's more the weight loss, and then it's the weight gain that is done in ways that require you to do a lot of, like, fasting. It's basically, it's fasting and binge eating. That's what they're doing. They're doing, like, a binge restrict cycle, and that binge restrict cycle is an eating disorder. And so I worry about people's health when they are engaging in eating disorder behavior. But if you're just bulking up, like, because you're maybe eating a little bit more than you used to eat, or you're, like, working out, you're lifting, things like that, that's perfectly reasonable. There's no really fat phobia there. So just, make sure that the way that you are choosing to do your weight gain is healthy and good for your body, so that you don't end up causing more harm than good. I hope that helps. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, thanks.
I'm shocked here. I have no idea what they're talking about. Unless you're bulking during Ramadan or Yom Kippur, there's no reason you should be fasting during a bulk. When you're bulking, you're probably eating upwards of 3,000 calories. I can't imagine fasting all day and then trying to stuff over 3,000 calories down my throat in this small window. It's inefficient and it's counterintuitive. I don't even think I could eat that much in one sitting, especially if it's a high protein diet. As for restricting, if you're restricting calories in an attempt to gain muscle, you're doing it wrong. You're not going to gain weight because that's not how the body works. Also, the fact that this commenter really asked for the permission to bulk, like, what if they said it was fat phobic? You're really going to miss out on those muscle gains because someone who doesn't work out told you it was fat phobic? Have some backbone and get the damn protein in.
This person says, accurate. Muscle wasting happens first and happens indiscriminately, and your heart is a muscle too. So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of tag off of this. So we're talking about how when you start cutting calories, your body tends to eat at muscle before it will eat at fat. If your body thinks it is malnourished, if you are not eating enough calories, your body will start to eat at your muscle before it eats at your fat. The biggest problem with this is that it will eat at your heart muscle usually first. And this is why you will see, it's really upsetting to be told that fat people die of heart attacks more often, etc., without taking into account the amount of fat people who lose weight very quickly, either through weight loss surgery or other means. They drop a large amount of weight in a very short amount of time, and this usually ends up causing their heart to freak the fuck out because their heart muscle is being destroyed. So you basically end up having a fucking heart attack because you are malnourished. It is a form of anorexia. It doesn't matter how big you are. It does not matter if you are 700 fucking pounds. It does not matter if you suddenly drop a fuck ton of caloric intake. You're going to actually put yourself at more risk than you would if you made small and gradual lifestyle changes. Again, I don't believe you need to lose weight in order to find health, and I don't believe that you need to be healthy in order to be valued as a human. I am a chronically ill person who has incurable conditions. No amount of weight loss will ever lead me to being healthy, ever. And I don't owe anybody health. Nobody owes anybody health. Nobody owes anybody health in order to be treated like a fucking human being. And I'm so sick of the concern trolling and people pretending to care about health because they don't. And we already have all of the studies that show the actual effects of anti-fat bias. And I'm pretty sure I've made a video about it. I'll probably make another video about it because it bears repeating. Anyway, thanks for this comment. And yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit more information to that for people.
I wonder what it's like to just get on the internet and just say things you've done no research on. I can't relate. With that said, everything they've said in this video is literally wrong. First of all, once your body has used up all the energy it gets from your food, it will go to your body fat for energy. And then after a significant period of starvation, it will go to muscle. Read this article by Dr. Sarah Couch from the University of Cincinnati for a biochemical breakdown of this phenomenon. Second of all, there's no evidence bariatric surgery has increased heart attacks. Let's talk science. Dumoras, I apologize if I butchered that, and others 2021 took a sample of 2,600 obese patients, half of which consisted of everyone who underwent bariatric surgery in Ontario from January 2010 to December 2016, and the other half didn't go through surgery. After follow-ups, it was determined that the group that underwent bariatric surgery experienced less instances of myocardial infarction, coronary revascularization, cerebrovascular events, heart failure hospitalizations, stroke, and all-cause mortality. If you want to say, oh, well, that's not evidence, weight loss surgery is good for you, then fine. But it's damn sure evidence that it's no worse for your heart than just remaining obese and not going through with the surgery.
This commenter says the amount of people that passed away after an episode of My 600-Pound Life is crazy. This makes so much sense now. Yeah, rapid weight loss is incredibly bad for you. No matter how big you are, the better health outcomes of losing weight are not going to outweigh, no pun intended, the really negative side effects of weight loss surgeries and the extreme dieting, the extreme restriction, the extreme exercising. Shows like My 600-Pound Life, Biggest Loser, all of those sorts of things that promote rapid, extreme weight loss is killing people. And it's very evident that rather than have very fat people, society would rather have dead fat people. And or dead thin people. You know what I mean? Like, it's really upsetting to me, this push to make extreme weight loss happen when we know from peer-reviewed research that rapidly losing weight like that is extremely bad for your health and it makes you malnourished. So I don't watch those shows. I don't support those shows. I very much feel for the people who are kind of brainwashed into thinking that this is the right way. I feel really, really terribly for the people in those shows that they think that this is their only option. And it is incredibly heartbreaking to me how many of them end up dead because of this extreme rapid weight loss. It would be so much better to just be fat and okay than thin and dead. Thanks for adding to this comment.
And here again, they're speaking on a topic they have no clue about, but because I love you guys, I did the research. I took some time out of my not very busy schedule to gather some data. I looked into the outcomes of every person from the show My 600-Pound Life. What I learned from this is that in the show, 12 people have died out of 135 interventions. Firstly, that's not a lot, but let's get deeper. Of the 12 deaths, 10 received the weight loss surgery. But of that, 2 unfortunately succumbed to their mental health struggles. Now that leaves 2 deaths among those who didn't receive surgery. Now you must be saying to yourself, well, there's 4 times as many deaths among those who didn't receive surgery. But let's compare the populations. In the entirety of the show's 135 interventions, only 7 resulted in the patient not receiving surgery, meaning 2 of 7, or 28% of those who didn't receive the intervention are dead. Now compare that to those who did receive the surgery. 8 of 127, or 6% of the people whose intervention resulted in surgery died. These are much better numbers.
This person says, the only thing I have had to get is high blood pressure meds. Like diabetes, high blood pressure doesn't have to be because of weight. Yes, absolutely. I wanted to highlight this comment because this is another super common misconception that if you're fat, you're going to have high blood pressure or hypertension. That's not necessarily true. What is true, though, is if you have biological parents, siblings, grandparents, or aunts and uncles that have high blood pressure or hypertension, those words are interchangeable, there is a super higher likelihood that you will also deal with hypertension / high blood pressure. So often it's a misconception that high blood pressure is because you're fat. High blood pressure is not because you are fat. High blood pressure is often because you have a genetic predisposition for hypertension. So you can have hypertension, high blood pressure, no matter what you weigh, whether you are very, very thin or very, very fat. If you have oh my gosh, the words are not working today. If you have a genetic predisposition to hypertension, then there's just a higher likelihood that at some point in your life you will get hypertension. So there are some lifestyle things with that as well, but one of the most effective things you can do is get yourself on blood pressure medication to manage your blood pressure. I so wish that I had understood fully in my 20s the extent of what having hypertension means, but I was so stuck in being constantly mistreated because of medical fat phobia that I didn't trust anything any of my doctors said, and I was treated poorly because I am fat, as opposed to like being explained that no, I have hypertension because literally my mother, father, and both of my grandmothers all have hypertension. The likelihood that I was going to have hypertension is incredibly high. Even if I was hella fucking thin, there is a high likelihood I would still have high blood pressure. So if you have family members, direct blood-related family members that have hypertension, you need to prioritize getting that looked at yourself and being very cautious about your own blood pressure and really take it seriously. I wish I would have taken it seriously sooner, because going untreated with high blood pressure for so long can cause so many other issues. So yes, thank you for bringing this up so much.
And here they spent a lot of time explaining nothing. The argument is solely for two reasons. One, behaviors are also heritable. You inherit behaviors from your parents not only based on you having their DNA, but based on upbringing. So putting the bill entirely on genetics and not behavior is just silly. Two, you know what else you're at increased risk for based on family history? Lung cancer, COPD, and strokes. Does the family history negate the relationship between these conditions and smoking? Absolutely not. And to do the same with obesity and hypertension is just silly. You know, often on this channel, you will hear fat activists say, health is not a moral obligation. And I fully agree. And that's why on this channel, you won't find videos of dudes dancing around with an oiled up belly or even feederism content. If you like being fat, good for you. Stay as fat as you want. Don't go to the gym, and get fatter if you please. But where I draw the line is at misinformation and bullshit excuses. Have that belly out all you want, but the minute we start pushing the idea that cutting calories and exercise won't cause weight loss and that having an excessive amount of body fat is not a health risk, I take issue. If these people truly believed, like I do, that being fat isn't a moral failing, we wouldn't have 1,001 videos of them making excuses or blatantly misrepresenting the science. With that being said, thank you all for your views, and please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe.